I would like to propose Susannah Slevin for the position of social sec. Me and Susannah bonded when I first arrived at Hatfield over a fear that people would stop having fun after Freshers' Week. Luckily, I can confirm that this has not been the case, and Susannah continues to be the life and soul of the party. While I've given in to the pull of the library as part of our law degree, Susannah continues to put her social life above her degree in a way that I can only admire. What I admire even more is that Susannah frequently achieves better grades than me, despite going out at every given opportunity. Susannah's dichotomy of a personality is accurately represented by her role as Vice President of the Glitter Society. She's a sparkly character that can also commit to a role which involves a lot of responsibility and planning. Zan can plan, be it small or large-scale events. She's always in charge of finding the print location, and we've all had the invite to her big 20+1, despite the fact that she isn't even 20 yet. I think that's always embarrassing. Susannah has a little bit of a reputation in London for being the hostess with the mostest. She has experience working with caterers, DJs and such for hosting large events, and this gives me confidence that in terms of the bigger events within Hatfield, such as Hatfield Day in the Line and Winter Ball, she'll be able to commit to these events and has experience that will help her when engaging with people when she has to plan these events. Finally, Susannah is incredibly friendly and gets on well with the spread of people across college. This gives me confidence that she'd work well with the other exec members and with her own team when planning events, and this would lead to some of the best events that Hatfield had.
Good morning, once I'd just like to add that now, because John. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Good evening. Through the tedious technical terminology of standing orders, what stood out for me was the human side, the role of social sec. The ability to fulfill the standing orders whilst maintaining this personal element is where George really comes into his own. I'm sure many of you already know him, but rather than just read his manifesto to you, I'd like to give you my own personal take on his application. First and foremost, George was senior friend. Whether helping freshers back after their first drunken urban oven, or waking them up 3 hours later, he was on call all week as a source of boundless enthusiasm, inspiration, and leadership that was always topped off with a smile. However, George really came into his own through his meticulous yet creative planning of the various Freshers' Week events, such as the full moon party. This included all aspects from marquee hire and decoration to organising performances from prominent local figures such as JCR and myself for the silent disco and DJ set. I know which I preferred. His hard work and rigorous planning, combined with steadfast confidence and knowledge, ensured not only a packed week of events for party animals and bookworms alike, but also, and more importantly, that everyone knew their options. Furthermore, he is the epitome of an organisational maestro, with time management abilities of which us humanities students in summer season can only dream. In addition to his time-consuming engineering degree, George successfully juggles social sec at Hatfield Lacrosse Club, pool DT, DU Engineering, and is a member of the Engineering Rule Committee, OTC and Entertainment Committee. Also a keen attender of formals, his liver is most certainly prepared for the life of an exec member. Those of you that haven't already read his manifesto or spoken to him, I strongly urge you to do so. If you do decide not to, then you can take my very objective word that it's very promising. Given all the events he's already organised, George has ample experience and ability on which to draw, no matter what challenges this position may present. Thank you for listening, and I hope you make the right choice in voting for George.
Thank you. We now just pick up questions, so we'll ask George to answer first.
Okay. Why do you think best suited to the role of social secretary, and do you have any ideas that you would like to implement in your year at this?
I think I'd be the best candidate because I've got a lot of experience organising events from college, and I can draw on that. A particular event which I'd be quite interested in implementing here, which I haven't done before, is the idea of Pathway Ball, which was recently held at Castle and has had a lot of Oxford colleges as well, where second years, halfway through their second year, have a big party, basically. I think it'd be quite a good way to celebrate and get the year together.
I want to bring events to college that have never been seen before, such as maybe a Hatfield reel inspired by CalSoc. I know that's very popular, so getting people in college involved in that as well, I think would be quite a good shout. Also, everyone in other universities have a lot of informal events that bring everyone together. And although in Hatfield we do have twice weekly formals, maybe making some college bops or things that aren't quite as formal that can also be fun, including into college life, would be quite good.
A big challenge that social set faces is the increasing number of themed Club 9 events. How will you tackle such a trend and ensure students attend your events?
I think just think of better themes, like, got to be creative. And realistically, if there's a massive night out in, Loft or Love Shack, no one's going to stay in, for example, on a Wednesday night because we've got like a charades night. So you could just organise something before the night out, so like a themed prees or something that follows on. Like, I know when there was a football social, we had all the football boys dressed up as Playboy bunnies having a dance-off, which everyone came to. So as long as you're inventive and make it new and fresh and not clashing with other events, basically.
So that's a problem that we had with Freshers Week a couple of nights where we organised an event and he does an event on somewhere else which people went to. So a way drawing on that experience and my experience doing that, I think what I'd do would be to advertise events quite a while in advance. So you get the information out before the clubs do, that way people get a chance to plan it in their diaries. And also, I think if there is going to be a planned event that's already going to be on, maybe integrate it out. So if you know that a lot of people are going to be going out, make that the event and just book out the club and say, right, Hatfield's going to do it, like on Hatfield Day, after we booked out the club, and went for that. So it's in the time.
This year there have been increasing regulations enforced by the University of College which directly affect events. Are you aware of these changes and what will you do to ensure that these regulations do not negatively impact on the popularity, attendance and success of the events you organise?
So the main one that I know about is about you can't include more than 2 or 3 units of alcohol in the ticket price. So previously, so Hatfield you included several drinks within the ticket price, which you click on the wristband. A way of getting around it would be doing a similar thing like we did formal, where you have a ticket price which doesn't include alcohol, and then you can then buy as much as you want before, which I think would work out because the price of the ticket will be cheaper, so that people won't be losing out at all. In fact, we're going to be more entertaining because they might have to pay the extra price of the ticket.
So basically, the main thing that I would do from the beginning is to make the tickets cheaper. Because obviously, if you're going to have unlimited alcohol on a ticket, it's going to have to be a lot more expensive than it would be otherwise. So then, if you're advertising that the reason it's cheaper is for people to buy alcohol, they're not going to be as upset when they realise that they only get 2 drinks as opposed to unlimited. Also, with like renovations such as Jevons next year, that's obviously going to disrupt the bar, to make sure that people make use of the proposed tennis court bar, because we don't want people going out of college to socialise instead.
The role of social secretary includes a technical side as well as a creative side, coordinating and ensuring companies adhere to college and uni regulations, with food hygiene certificates, PAT testing, clear line certificates. What is your experience of dealing with these technical kind of side of the role, and how will you cope with this during your events?
Well, I think the key to this is early organisation. When I was at school, I was on our Leavers Ball committee, which obviously involved a lot of organisation and coordination with outside companies. I think finding quotes from all of them to get the best price to make it as economical as possible, and then just having a lot of clear correspondence so that nothing gets messed up and everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing on a day.
From the technical side of things, there's obviously, I agree, Susannah, you need to get in, do things very far in advance. It's often quite difficult to get legal and budgetary aspects sorted out from companies, so being able to budget management, keep going to do stuff like that. And also just, I think, where possible, keeping things in college, where we've already got the equipment, that makes it cheaper for technical things.
In my time in office, I found organising Hatfield Day the most stressful aspect of my role. This is largely organised before you have appointed senior ends members and completely overlapping with examination season, with the event taking place in June. How will you balance organising such a large-scale event with your exams, and can you outline a rough timeline of how you plan your time?
So I would try and get as much done over Easter as possible, and use the free time I have at home to get preliminary organisation done, so that when it comes to coming back to university where I can use the department resources, I already have a lot done, and then I can build on what I've already done over the holidays when I have an team to sort that out.
First of all, I would probably spend quite a lot of time researching because I want to make everything efficient when I did put it into action. I'd probably do this at home, and then when I got back after Easter, delegate to the ends team and be very involved in that myself. Basically, I wouldn't want to invest a lot of time in one thing and then everything has to fall apart. So I would want to make sure that every aspect of Hatfield Day worked well and that it lived up to expectations of previous years. And I would do that by researching beforehand.
How do you see yourself working with the treasurer when planning budgets for events?
I think, first of all, I would find out what the upper limits were of the budget for each particular event, so that I wouldn't plan things that weren't feasible, or that I wouldn't underplan things that we could do that everyone would enjoy. So, but I would also talk to the treasurer about maybe subsidising some events, because I know things such as London Winter are very expensive and they are highlighted in the social calendar, so I don't really want people to miss out on those if we can help it. So I'd actually ask the treasurer for a budget for stuff like that.
Yeah, the key to working with the treasurer is communication. So, especially everything you buy, you have to run through the treasurer and provide expenses and all that stuff. So, regular communication with the treasurer to sort all that out. And obviously getting a budget sorted out straight away, because otherwise you can't work out what's going to go on. And then from there you can work out ticket prices and really start planning from that.
To learn. Oh, Laura, do you want to do that?
Okay. How will you ensure that you're putting on events with a diverse range of interests within the JCR, and not just events necessarily with a really heavy alcohol focus? And what ideas do you have for these?
So obviously some of the bigger events in college do involve alcohol, but I'd also make sure that you have lots of alternatives, so even at those you don't have to drink, and that's not by far and away it's not a big aspect of it, and that should be quite fun. Also doing lots of other events, probably centred around the bar, because it is the big social space in college. At the same time, not drinking, so open mic nights, things like that, and just any other fun events. I'd probably put ideas out to the JCR and get their feedback in about what they want to do.
I think I would focus a lot of these events on humour. So I would probably have some karaoke nights, and if alcohol is banned in these, that could probably be more funny because you're actually remembering what people are doing to embarrass themselves. Also maybe have a sponsored eat-off, see how many pies or hot dogs someone can eat in a specific amount of time. The University of Aggression sessions, we have high sessions, bet on people, see how far that goes. Basically, just some silly fun.
Daniel?
So 2 years ago, the Hatfield Fashion Show received a lot of criticism for being culturally insensitive and for cultural appropriation. What would you do to ensure that any themed events are accessible to everybody and make sure that they don't cause offence to minority groups?
Okay, so well, in this day and age, it's pretty damn hard to not cause offence to minority groups. So what you have to do is, if you did have something that you thought would be a little bit tenuous, maybe make a survey, see what the JCR actually think of it. But also, if you're going to have something about a particular culture, maybe make it about a few, because then you can't be criticised for discriminating against one and you're rather including all, or just make it something like very, very neutral. I think just with themes focusing on the appreciation of a culture is important.
Yeah, so when planning events, obviously the last thing I want to do would be to offend anyone. So I bear that in mind, but obviously it's very difficult. Sometimes you don't realise that something you think is perfectly fine is going to be offensive to someone. So probably work with people like the welfare team, stuff like that, who would probably have a more understanding and would probably get more feedback from that. So I've probably talked to them quite a lot to work with that.
All makes their questions.
Sorry. Last year, college enforced policy to not allow non-Hatfielders or alumni to Hatfield Day, which left a lot of people quite unhappy. What would you do to tackle this problem this summer?
So I think it would be really good to have people to come out, especially alumni or friends, so boyfriends, girlfriends, all that sort of stuff. So I think very early on in the process, I would go and talk to Anthony Bash and the other college officers and really try and sort this out. So I imagine it'd be something that would cause a lot of tension with college officers if they feel strong about it still. Just keep talking to them, try to break down the ranks.
First of all, I put out a survey because I think it's very important that in such a Hatfield-centric event, with something that's so important to so many people in college, that everyone is able to have a say, because if people are happy with it that way, then we can keep it that way, and if they're not, then I would, again, talk to, like George said, I would talk to the college officers, see what would be possible, and make every effort in order to change it so that it could go back to the way it was.
I'm going to open up to the floor before we head back to the table. If there are any. Back to the table.
No,
Sorry, Nancy. Benjamin.
What's your opinion about attendance policy for JCR funded events for the MCR Hatfield alumni and non-Hatfield guests? And how would you seek to enforce your sort of ideas about those policies if the college were opposed to them? Can you restate that?
I don't really know what you mean. So policy of non-JCR students coming to JCR events.
Yeah, including the MCR and non-Hatfield students and Hatfield alumni.
Okay, so policy in regards to.
should we have guests?
Should we allow guests?
Thank you. For quite big events like Hatfield Day.
Okay. So for example, at Christmas formals, which are primarily JCR sort of functions organised, there are lots of non-JCR members that will attend those, such as other MCR members and whatnot. So how do you feel about all the JCR effort going into events that are enjoyed by all, with perhaps not a great contribution from those guests that attend? Is that the question?
Can we just not ask that?
It's a really good question.
Just about what is the policy on what
Or not the policy, I think.
What do you think of non-Hatfield attending Hatfield organised events for Hatfield?
Okay.
So I think 50% of you didn't understand the question, and 50% didn't answer it.
Okay, so it depends on the event, like with Christmas formal, obviously MCR are part of Hatfield, so there's no problem with that. But I personally have a problem with maybe non-Hatfields coming to things like that where there's such oversubscription and no one really gets to go. So I would probably, first of all, make more of the events, like maybe 5 throughout the week instead of just 3. And if there was space, then open it up to people outside Hatfield, because events are primarily Hatfield event, their priority should go to Hatfield, because obviously we'd like to welcome people in, but first we'd like to get to go, I think. And with bigger events, if we have the space, then I would say, let everyone come.
Slightly conversely to what Susannah said, I think I agree with the fact that MCR, SCR should really get involved in college events, and there's a big driving pressure to get more MCR involved. And to be fair, most of them weren't really interested, because a lot of them were quite old and weren't really interested in going to parties. But then once you did turn up, had a really good time, and I think they contributed quite a lot to the atmosphere, so it'd be good to do that. And I've talked to the members of the SCR as well, and they're very interested in being invited to more Hatfield events, and they also said that they might be very keen to put stuff back in. So if they're invited to more things, they might be more willing to provide funding and support in that way.
Please?
So there's recently been discussion of inviting all an event chairs to provide money from JCR to say what it does we start to do. What are your thoughts on JCR on the event in this way, on the solution to event themselves?
So I'll just repeat that for those who didn't hear. So recently there's been the suggestion of ball chairs and whatnot attending JCR Treasury, which is where they come to apply for money in the same way that clubs and societies do. So what's your opinion on that, given that events are meant to be sort of self-sustaining and self-funded?
I think that there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to come. You can always say no, but giving them the option to apply for it, and if they've got a good argument, then I think that's perfectly fair. And part of JCR is being inclusive to everyone. And if it will benefit the events and the JCR experience, then I'd say yeah, let them come.
Well, social events and balls are like enhance Hatfield life a lot. So if the position of the treasurer was that it was going to enhance the experience of the person in Hatfield, then I think why not? Everyone should get the opportunity to put their ideas forward and to apply for funding.
Brandon?
How do you see yourself working with college officers who may have differing opinions on the events you're planning?
I would put forward to them why it benefits everyone as a whole. I would say we would rather organise the events ourselves and make them in a safe environment than just allow like casual binge drinking instead, because I'm sure that if we were to cancel like annual events, then there would be a bit of uproar, people would rebel, there'd be a riot. And like we can, with things like Language Ball, there's control over alcohol consumption. It's basically doing a safe space. They can supervise in a way, and they know where we are.
Yeah, dealing with college officers over that sort of thing can be quite tricky. So I think a lot of communication is key, and probably recording what they say is also very important. So yeah, trying to always talk to them, always make sure that you check with them, then also at the same time make sure that everything that you're talking about is relevant, and you don't there's no need to go into too much detail. Things I don't need to know, and just it's organised by JCR, so we'll talk about what they need to know.
Any more questions? Bloody hell.
So as social secretary, after having like organised Hatfield Day in the first term, in the Nicholas term, you'll be kind of like an ex officio member on the line of the ball exec team, so you'll be kind of helping those guys out, and also you might be offering advice to the fashion show. So how do you see that role developing, sort of mediating between the exec and the line of ball exec to make sure that the events are as good as they can be?
I think it'd be quite. I reckon that the execs for those events would have been selected on their merit, so they're probably very competent and able to run it. I think it'd be acting quite, maybe slightly partially, but putting my opinions in and just relaying what the exec thinking, relaying what goes on in the meetings back to the exec, and sort of just providing that link really quite good, and just putting any ideas from the JCR into it as well.
From having helped to organise and oversee Hatfield Day, I think I would probably have the experience necessary to know what it's like to be on the exec of a big organising committee in Hatfield. And therefore, I would communicate this to them, show that I was empathetic, and then try and make everything they would want possible within the contrast of the exec. So to let everyone know what's happening, and to try and plead the case for both sides.
Sam?
Yeah, when organising events, it's often cheaper to do things in-house in Hatfield. What college and JCR services do you think that you could take advantage of, and how would you go about arranging it?
I think maybe putting a kind of marquee, kind of tent-like construct over the tennis courts could be quite cool, like a little Aladdin's den. And I feel like that would be relatively cheap and easy to organise. I would organise more things like on the outside area of the bar, like where Pace is. Maybe have some cute summer picnics, some cider involved, some hymns. Make some fun day events when it's the summer.
So with experience of events, both as going to them and organising them, you really don't want to split things up, so depend very largely on how big the event is. So smaller events, I'll probably try and either focus in the bar and gyms, or just in the dining hall. And if it's a larger event, then having some sort of, again, focusing around the bar, which is generally for these sort of events where everyone wants to go. And then having definitely a rain cover, like an pressure room, would be a good shout, and just sort of go spreading out the last two main guys.
Roberto, do you have a question?
So a lot's been mentioned about college officers. I just wanted to know which college officer specifically
is the most important to communicate with, particularly in instances where there's a dispute over policies and regulations to do with events, and failing to establish a resolution with that college officer, who would you then go to try and find and resolve the issue?
Anthony Bash is the big dog. So, especially, I think that's sort of, it'll be especially important next year because Tim's sadly leaving, so there'll be a new master and so there'll be some sort of, there'll be a changeover going on, so more so than usual, Anthony will be the one to talk to. Failing that, then there's Brenda as well, Michelle, sorry, the bursar, is a big factor in it, because being a bursar, she sort of runs the college in a way. And then I think if there was a problem with that, we'll then go to Brenda and talk to them about that.
So if there was any larger policy issue, I'd go to Anthony Bash because, as George said, he's the big dog, and he probably has the final say in lots of issues. If you were to not listen to me, I'd probably go to Eleanor because I feel she is quite sympathetic and really does have the students' issues at heart, so I feel like putting a case to both of them would get the best result.
Any more questions?
Yes, Serena.
What new event ideas do you have for encouraging those out to come back into college? So ideas that have never been done before.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this has ever been done, I don't think it has, but an in-college reel, because that is vastly popular across the university. Also, some schools do this, I think it would be quite interesting to bring to Hatfield, are Strictly Come Dancing for colleges. Everyone kind of pairs up and then there's a final event that everyone can vote on, which can be quite fun. Also making in-college sports socials better, because DU sport, or those of us that aren't as athletically talented, will tell you that we're all quite jealous of that, so bringing better sports socials.
Yeah, I'd say that going for events you do within your year group would be quite good. So doing, especially in second year, because most people live out in second year and you want to draw them back in the third year. So I'd say doing maybe a rule or some sort of event specifically for the second years, because most of their friends will be there, they'll be able to do it together. It'll be quite a nice thing to do. And then the same for third year. So hopefully, I think most of the focus on second year is trying to get them in by doing balls and parties and anything else that they might be interested in doing. To encourage them that this is the place to be, so they'll choose to live in.
Yeah, Meg?
What events would you put on for Erasmus and international students to make them feel more included in JCR?
Megan, applying for communities officer.
Yeah, so I would invite them to everything that we do. I think the best way of making them feel involved is to get them involved with what people are doing anyway. There's no point. I think if I do something different, then you could make them feel like they're separate. So they just get them involved things right from the very start.
I pretty much agree entirely with George on this. I even think having International Freshers Week kind of sets people apart, just because then they make really close friends immediately and aren't excluded from everyone else, and that everyone else kind of maybe is a bit intimidated that there are all these strong friendship groups already formed. So just treating everyone the same is kind of the way to go, I feel.
Any more? Dan?
So one of the things I found this year is that I've actually had to organise quite a few events, so things like Florida Dinner, Hatfield Castle Day, Pride Week, things like that. So do you see the potential for any overlap with the communities officer role to make sure that you can put forward your expertise to make sure the events that the community officer organises as good as they can be?
Yeah, so basically integration with as many different people as possible to make sure that as many people as possible can enjoy these events. So anything that the communities officer wants to do, I would be more than happy to be involved in to make it as big and as good as it could possibly be.
One of the main things I do as social sector would be to work very strongly with the rest of the exec. So any events they might want to do, whether it be community officer doing events like you said, or the secretary especially, lives officer, just to work with them and work as a team, because the exec is a team, and that's probably the best way of making it as good as they possibly could be.
Any more? Oh, I love Brogan. No, okay.
A lot of your events that you're discussing, the big events which often have advertising, a lot of people get involved in this, especially during Freshers Week, a lot of it, social events, do involve running around with those backups, and I know that it's quite a big problem that anxiety and social anxiety can develop coming to having such a drastic lifestyle change from going to school, living at home to living out, it can be a big change for people. So there's only sort of events that sort of which would accommodate these people who are finding a little bit more nervous to get involved and actually get involved with social events, which are the idea of
Yeah, it's difficult because obviously a lot of people come here not really wanting to change much, but then you do get people who want to go and have a wild party, so you've got to cater for both. So I think a good way of doing it would be to put opinions out to the JCR and work out what exactly they want to do, because it's quite easy to say, oh, the film nights on, something like that, but people might not want to do that. I think the best way of doing something, getting involved, something I found precious that people didn't really turn up to the non-party options if they didn't want to go out, they stayed in their rooms. So putting out a poll to JCR would probably be the best way of getting good commitment to the events.
I think probably doing team building kind of things, like if you were like, okay, let's go paintballing, or let's go on an obstacle course, things that force people to become friends in a less alcohol-fueled way. So, team building, so like people are relying on each other, like maybe cooking, like I know the welfare evening with the pancakes that was on Pancake Day was really popular. Things surrounding food, things people are doing that they actually will enjoy, not just like a movie that they can watch by themselves. Things that they have to be in a group in order to do.
Any more questions? No? Excellent. I'd now like to ask who proposed first? Susannah. So I'll ask George to start with a 1-minute speech on why we should go to you for a social secretary.
Basically, I love Hatfield. Hatfield is my life. So I think that will be reflected in everything that I do. I really want to make the experience of the JCR as good as it could possibly be. Just getting an opinion of everyone else, just doing what people want to do, and then also working very strongly with these any committees to make sure that it's absolutely top notch. That's kind of what I would say. But, my experience would be very, very useful. I've done a lot within college, organising events, socials, both big and small, so I can then go forward and put those into practice as social secretary for the college. Thank you. Please vote for me.
I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you, I was laughing at Twitter. So I was crying at Twitter. Susannah.
Okay. I fully believe that you should not let your degree get in the way of your education. When I think back to Freshers Week, I was so nervous, and a time that should usually be so stressful was made so much better by the fact that the JCR and the Social Sec had organised so many events to make everyone just be together. The atmosphere was so welcoming, and I really want to be involved in creating an atmosphere like that all year round for all the members of Hatfield. Events such as silent discos and boat parties I feel should be more frequent in Hatfield's social calendar. Although I love the traditional basis on which Hatfield was formed and is run, I would incorporate more informal events if I were elected, as I feel like we don't always have to dress up. And things need to be cheaper. Not everyone can afford to do everything, so making things economically better and bringing everyone together at the same time could be good for everyone. In my position as Vice President of Business Society, I have experience in administration, and what I lack in experience, I make up for in enthusiasm.